What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Raw. And if you haven't already been able to tell, this is not your typical podcast. Like, I'm trying to make sure that the women that sit on the chair beside me are authentic, they're raw, and they're willing to really pull back the curtains and, give us their true story, their authentic story. So today is not going to be any exception to the rule. I'm super excited about this topic because it is so taboo. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about motherhood, the untruth, when choosing myself would have been better than choosing my kids.
Oh, Lord, let's talk
That's
about
a mouthful.
Wait,
We just hold on a second.
take a sip.
We gotta take a sip for that one right there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of women, just by me just saying what that topic was, I bet you they sitting back right now and they ready to get into this.
Yes.
And talk about it, right?
It's going to get real in the field.
All right.
Okay.
So y'all know how I do. I'm not going to introduce my guests. I always love for these beautiful women to do the honors. And the biggest thing is, this show is not about what you do. It's about who you are. So shout out to the Let's Be Raw community and tell them who you are.
Hello, everybody. My name is Taquana Clark. I am a 43-year-old divorced mother of two. And I'm just here to speak my truth about motherhood.
Yes.
I'm here to talk about it. Okay?
All right, so listen, couple things is, motherhood is often painted as the ultimate fulfillment. But what if, for some women, it wasn't? What if the truth about motherhood is more complex than society allows us to admit? In this powerful and unfiltered episode, that's what we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
So Miss Taquana Clark, all right, let's kind of recap. One, it is divorced, in your 40s, and 2 kids. Okay, that's a mouthful right there, right? Because just from society standpoint, you done, sis. Like you in your 40s, you got 2 kids, you divorced. Like at this point, they like, oh, life might be over.
They like, pack it on up.
Pack it on up.
Take it on to the house, spinster.
Spinster. Right.
Most society would feel like, I should be locked in.
Right.
I should have stayed
in it.
In my marriage.
Yep.
And,
for the kids, because that's what we hear a lot of times, right? Sacrifice our own happiness because we brought some little human beings into the world.
And so we don't want them to be in a broken home. Yeah, that's.
But it can be easily broken even when both parents are still in the house.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. So one of the first topics, because, we're going to jump on in because we got a lot to cover tonight, is breaking the myth. Love isn't always instant. Many mothers learn to love rather than feeling it naturally.
Let's talk about it.
All right, let's go.
This is literally my life.
Okay.
I hope my life. My mom was not a loving mother. So it kind of passed on to me. I literally remember vividly my older daughter constantly hugging me, and I was so irritated. I was like, why are you hugging me so much? And she said, Mom, I'm a hugger. And she broke me out of that. It was literally a visceral reaction.
Yeah, your body was
like,
just
oh my God, why is she hugging me so much? And thinking about that on a deeper level, that wasn't something I was used to. And I was just leaning into being dutiful. You got a roof over your head. You got some food in your stomach. You got some clothes on your back. Any extra emotional support you need, I don't have the capacity. I was still very much moving selfishly. And we had to unpack that down the line. But yeah, it wasn't something that came naturally at all. I was faking most days. And I was hoping, I hope my daughter doesn't notice that I'm just going through the motions. She want me, you're the best mom in the world. And I'm like, for real? Because girl, I'm Oscar nominated right now with the way I'm interacting with you, because I know I can mimic how a loving mother is supposed to interact with their child.
But so you getting up every day, you literally lights, camera, action.
Yes, every single day.
Wow.
For years.
So let's because that's a lot to unpack. So first off, how old are your children?
I have a 22-year-old and I have a 9-year-old. So it's a 13-year gap.
Child, yes, I didn't even realize that. 13 years. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the daughter, that's the 22-year-old.
Yes.
Okay. So you had her, obviously, just you and her for a good amount of time.
Yes.
So you find out, let's just go back to that, because a lot of times with motherhood, most people just automatically assume, in the way society conditions us, is we're supposed to naturally want to procreate, and we're supposed to naturally have this ultimate high and this joy the moment we found out we're pregnant, and we love wanting to let our bodies just get completely out of shape and our hormones all over the place, and now you're supposed to now push this baby into the world and be overjoyed, right?
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm so happy to be a mama. All right. Okay, so let's just start there. You find out that you're pregnant with your daughter. What were those emotions like?
I ain't gonna lie. I was being hot-tailed, and I thought I was in love.
Okay.
Like my child's father, I was all about like trying to make him happy.
Okay.
And when I think about it and I reflect, I feel like I was being a people pleaser, or I was, hey, I know this is something that he wants, or he's hinted at, or we've had a discussion about. Not necessarily anything that I had wanted or planned for, but this is something he wants. Let me gift him this baby. Dun dun dun.
So wait a minute, how old were you at this time?
At this time, I was 21 years old.
Okay, you're still a baby yourself.
That part.
Okay, so you're in this relationship, and he has verbalized to you he wants to have kids.
It's been a while ago, but I do feel like he alluded to it.
Okay.
You know, like it wasn't.
It was like, okay, if we get pregnant, I'm cool with it. Let's have this baby type thing.
Yes. Okay. Yes, most definitely.
All right. So
and I was like, I guess we can rock it. Like, that's what you want to do, we'll do that.
Okay. So you find out you're pregnant. Do you remember those emotions? You remember what you were feeling at that time?
Yes. Not getting too deep into it, but he drugged me.
He drugged you.
You know how guys, they show the whole part of their behind. Some guys. When women get pregnant.
Right.
Because now they feel like they fat. So now I'm going to bounce around because she fat. Okay. She got this baby. I'm finna go out here and do me. Spin corners. Have fun. Sowing a rural oats.
Okay.
You know? So I was sad. And I was going through it the whole pregnancy. It was a miracle she even made it through. I was so stressed.
And a lot of times I think we even need to talk about, which I think is even another episode, when you just think about when you are pregnant and your baby is growing inside of turmoil, stress, confusion, anger, disappointment. Like, you just think about, you are literally growing a human being almost in a cesspool of raw emotions. And you trying to figure out how to process it and all of that, but your baby is feeling all of that.
Most definitely.
Your baby is feeling that. So fast forward, right? Now, even going through the pregnancy, but let's take him out of the equation. Okay. You sitting in this moment, you're pregnant now. What were the feelings that you were going through just that? You went from first trimester to second and third. You're watching your body change again, hormones, all of this. Was anything clicking at that point? Like, I'm excited about this baby coming into the world. I want to be a different mom than what I was, how I was brought up. What was happening then?
I used to journal a lot.
Okay.
So I've pulled them out since and reread.
Oh, you still have them?
I still have them, like what I was going through at that time. And I do remember being very conscious of this child did not ask to be here. How can I be here for, being very mindful of her. I had already named her. I was already kind of talking to her. So I felt like in my own way, I was preparing myself for her arrival.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was most definitely doing that. I was working. I've always worked.
Okay.
Off the porch, I was working. So I was always doing it.
And I'm assuming, because most of the time with all of us too, when we think about our relationships with our mother, and the first thing we say is, I will never be this type of mother. I will never do these types of things. I will change this, that, and the other. Did you go through those moments too?
I did have those moments. My mom was very much a workaholic.
Okay.
And I also became a workaholic. Ooh,
yeah, I know all about that. Yeah, don't know how to turn it off at all.
At all. So I did remember kind of mirroring what she had going on. But she was very much, grandmama my grandbabies, don't put my grandbabies.
Well, you know, they also
know.
say that that's their time, second time around to get it right.
Oh, they be showing up.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
You over there like, wait a minute now, you ain't do none of that for me.
Who this hormone?
Yeah, exactly.
Who this Who this? Okay,
so baby is now here. Were you and baby's father still together at this point? Did y'all?
So, he ended up going to prison.
Okay.
And I had to thug it out. Solo dolo, on my own, trying to work, trying to get my daughter squared away.
Right.
I vividly remember having to take my daughter to work because I didn't have nobody to watch her, and I was holding my breath the whole day. I had her ducked off, and I was like, "Don't come out." She's too young to really understand what I'm saying. She's 3, 4 years. Don't come out. You know, mommy got to run over here real quick. And my supervisor pulled up. Her name was Mr. Caleb, and I just knew I'm finna get fired. Like the tears was rolling. I'm like, I'm finna get fired. And then my daughter had the nerve to pop her head around the corner. Kids, they pop their head around the corner, and Mr. Caleb said, "You got baby eating."
Wow. Look at God placing angels in our lives when we don't even know what we need. Yeah,
but that just goes to attest for. So we're normally, you know, daddies, maybes, mama's babies, daddy's maybe. It all falls on us. It's never a question of us opting out.
Nope. And shame on us if we even think about, you know what, like even my sister, you know, she has 5 kids. And when she decided to let her youngest ones go and stay with their dad, she had to deal with backlash with that, because the first thing is I even had to say to her, I was like, F what they think, number one, and number two, you're not sending them to go live with a stranger.
Exactly.
But why is it again that society just says that the mother, like you said, we gotta thug it out, we gotta figure it out, and babies better stay glued to our hips. We can't even remotely think about letting that child go off and be with somebody else, even when it might be the best situation for all parties involved.
Right. We have to lock in.
We got to lock in.
We have to figure it out. We have to, and not even to mention the kids. I don't know why, psychology-wise, they idolize the parent that's missing.
Say that again.
What? I'm here.
Girl, my oldest son, he would give his daddy a pass. His daddy could say, I'm going to come pick you up. We gonna do this and we gonna do that, and he might get DJ for a day and then bring him back on a Saturday. Or his dad was still harping and in his feelings because we weren't together anymore, and so he would know that my husband and I had plans, and it was his weekend to get DJ, and he was just, no, I'm not coming this weekend. Wow. Not realizing that you're not hurting me, you're hurting him. Exactly. But DJ gave that, I mean, every time I turn around, it's all right because it's dad. I said, DJ, man, why don't you call your dad and ask your dad for that? Never mind, I don't need it. Huh?
Talk about
you just wore me down for an hour. For it. But now that I say, go ask your daddy, all of a sudden that need and desire is no longer there.
That grace be abundant on the parent that's not in the picture.
Yeah.
Abundant. Yeah. But us is, you know.
Well, and then they also say, what do? We always hurt the ones closest to us, right? Wherever we can lash out quickest and be able to get the reaction from, then that's what we naturally do. We just do that as human beings.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt any less. You know, and then I try to be a person of high character and ethics, and I didn't ever talk down on him. I didn't ever paint a. When she got older, she started piecing together stuff on her own, but I didn't assist her
along the way
coming to that conclusion.
And that can be hard. Like real talk. That can be real hard, especially if you got a kid that every now and then want to buck up or want to get smart, right? Or want to say what you not doing. And then you want to be like, hold up, you know what? Let me let Dee show up. Right? We all got that alter ego in us when it comes to how we parent our kids.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The pressure versus the truth. What if women felt safe saying they would choose differently? So before you answer that, would you choose differently?
I would have most definitely choose differently, Deanna. The reason is I'm such an ambitious person, and I often think about where would I have been if I would have been able to focus on my focus and not I feel like every time it was a veer off course, because now when you have other people, when you have little ones depending on you to eat, to have a roof over their head, you have to pretty much go get some income and maintain that income so that they can be maintained. Versus if you're free and you don't have any obligations and nothing holding you back, you can move the way you want. If I want to jump up and move to New York,
you could.
I could have did that.
Right.
Could have, baby, and I was fine.
That's right.
Look, I think about, baby, I would have been black girl retreat.
Right.
What? I would have been on a plane somewhere. But that didn't happen. You know, and I often think about, like, what would my life have looked like if I would have chosen not to have kids versus having kids.
Yeah, that's real talk. That's truly real talk. Do you feel that if we were polling 100 women that had children, and society, they didn't have to worry about anybody judging them on it, what percentage do you think it would be that the women would say, I would choose differently, I wouldn't have any kids?
If I just had to make a guess, 87%. Because you do have some,
I think it's very high too.
I think it's because you have women out there that were playing with baby dolls. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
God bless them. But I wasn't, walking around with baby alive
and all of
even
that.
when we did the project in school with the flour and the egg.
No.
Mine was left somewhere. We'll come back and get it later. Like, what are we doing?
I don't even know what grade I'm going to get with this, but I have no desire. I have no desire with this over here, right?
What is it? No. Yes, no.
Yeah, I believe it would be high too. I think if more women really, really just look back and just, even now, I'm like, I couldn't have kids in today's society. Wow. If I had to procreate right now, absolutely not. The world is just too different. The trials and tribulations are just too much harder, greater. Like,
very difficult. Daycare costs.
I tell my kids this all the time. I'm like, listen, be selfish. Like, be selfish as long as you possibly can, because you're right. The moment you bring, whether it's a child or even a significant other into the picture, life changes.
It does.
Yeah, all your dreams, goals, and everything go pushed to the side.
And we're so programmed by society to be sacrificial. Oh, everybody eat, but mama eat last.
Yeah, mama eat last. Yeah.
Oh, let's make sure the house is straight, and then mama over here dragging and one breath away from passing out. And people seem to be okay
with that.
And it's just like, wow, just imagine a world where I just gotta clean up after me. The dish in the sink is the dish that I ate from.
Yep.
I know I'm coming back to a clean house because
you left it. When you left that morning, all the lines was in the carpet. All the chops was on the pillow. Yeah. Well, nothing messed up.
They be like tornado. What was that? Tasmanian devils.
Yeah.
What? I just cleaned this up. I'm putting my hands up. It's too much. It's too much. But
yeah. Okay, motherhood as an obligation when cultural and family expectations dictate choices. So obviously, when you think about a lot of different cultures, right? You think about Mexican culture. I mean, those women are supposed to procreate like it was no tomorrow. Like, that's all they supposed to do, right? Because everything is family oriented and big families, and so you got those cultures where there's expectation that come along with it. Even with the Asian culture, it's not necessarily of abundance, but yes, you're supposed to be able to leave that legacy behind, right? And even in our culture, Black people, it's like the same thing. We just assume that women should naturally want to have a baby.
Right.
And then, so I have a girlfriend, and you know her as well. She doesn't have any kids, but I remember even when we first met, I caught myself being a part of societal thinking, because when we met, when she's in her 30s, I'm in my 30s and everything. By this time I had all three of my kids, right? She didn't have any, and I kept saying, you're not gonna have any kids? So then I just don't know. And then it was, but what about your husband? Like, I know your husband wants a legacy. Like, I didn't realize it until I looked back years later. And I was like, oh, that was so unfair to her as her friend, because I was even putting her worth as a woman tied to the fact that, why don't you have any kids?
Right. And honestly, I can understand why you would have done that. I was reading this book called The Four Agreements. And they just talk about from infancy to whatever age we get, we're being programmed. And our programming on women, they put a lot on us. Oh my God. Yeah. They put so much on us.
Yeah.
And Lord forbid we go off script.
Yeah. Because I even felt like, I never said it to her, but internally I felt she's selfish. I said, how can you, because her whole thing was, Deanna, the way our life is right now, my husband he was traveling a lot at that time. You know, he was moving up the career. He was technically the breadwinner. So, you know, everything relied on him. And then in her mind, she wanted to be able to travel. She chose herself. Let me just say that. But in that moment, I couldn't even hear that. I couldn't process that because in my mind, I was like, well, I never got to choose myself.
Oh, can we talk about it?
Go ahead.
Most definitely the projection. You know, I do that. Other people do it. My mom does that with us. My mom literally had a hard time. You know, I know, not to get off, she had a hard time like celebrating me graduating from college.
Oh, girl, we just talked about that on the previous episode. Yes, I think that must be universal, but go ahead.
But it's just that projection, like, how dare she be out here living fancy free with no kids and not locking in. And
why wasn't her life the same way mine was? Especially when they sometimes think that our decisions were very parallel. And they can't understand that, well, she's making the same decisions that I made, but here was my outcome. Why is her outcome so much more greater?
Most definitely. And not to mention, do you remember the stigma of, don't bring no single women around you?
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
So not only that, they were ostracized for being single women with no man coming. You can't come to me. So now it's a clique. The women with the kids and the family have a clique, and the single women.
And then, like I said, and automatically that meant we couldn't trust those sisters. Not even realizing they didn't even probably want our life.
Girl was like, I got all the joy. Right. Like that. To be like, Jesus, take the wheel.
I dodged the bullet. Right? I'm serious. But I found myself doing that because I looked at it like, well, I wasn't selfish. I got pregnant at 16, had my oldest a week before turning 17, even though I didn't want the pregnancy. I never, and that's funny, I never wanted kids. But it wasn't because I didn't feel that I would ever be a good mom. I had been 3 other people's mothers starting at 9 years of age because of being a latchkey kid. My mom being a single mom. She had me when she was 16, so we're technically growing up together. And she's like, I don't have anybody else, Deanna. So I became the parent to choices that she made, children that she decided to have.
Clock it.
Not me. Right? So from 9 up until even at 16, I always said, I was like, I had my life mapped out. I was like, I'm gonna graduate from high school. I'm going to Howard College. I'm gonna get my law degree. I'm moving to California and I'm being an entertainment attorney.
Yeah.
That was in 6th grade.
I can see that in a parallel universe. I can see you killing it. Do you hear me?
So when I got pregnant, I was like, what? I said, God, no, this, And I was like you, I was even to the point when it came to marriage. I never, and especially because I didn't come from any relationships where I could emulate or see a good marriage, right? Good or bad, honestly. And so even then I was like, well, I mean, if I get married, it'll be because I'm 40 and I need to check this box. Like everything to me was check a box. Done, right? And move on, right? And so going back to that conversation with her, and for several years, every time the children topic would come up, I just would always feel like, yeah, you being selfish. Like, how dare you choose that you want to be able to travel? And she's like, Deanna, but that whole baby responsibility is going to be on me. Even if I do this and give this for my husband and we're in a 2-parent household, he's gone. He travels. He's the one bringing in the money. So at the end of the day, I'm getting ready to choose the life to have a child, knowing that I'm going to be its sole caretaker. She's like, Deanna, I don't want to do that.
Most definitely.
And it wasn't until now that we just both turned 50 and having a different lens and looking back, and I'm like, girl, good for you. Like, good for you that you chose and you stuck to your guns. And they did try, and things didn't work out. But even then, I could tell it was one of those, I'm doing it because it's what my husband wants to do.
Right. She was cool.
She was like, literally,
like, hey.
She was like, I got god babies.
Yes.
I'm aunties to people, and that's it.
Wow, that is profound.
But that projection, you are absolutely right. That us women are actually harder on other women,
most definitely,
than anybody else,
because we have to bring them in the fire with us. Like it's almost like psychological. It's societal pressure to. Oh,
and when that jealousy kick in, when you see some other sis living her best life, like right now, my kids are grown. For the most part, out the house. Like when I say now, I can pick up and be like, I'm going to Zanzibar. Make sure y'all take care of the dogs. That part, right? The bills are going to be taken care of.
Yes.
Even traveling to the point that there was a time where obviously I couldn't leave my kids. And if I did, what were you doing? Calling every hour on the hour. Checking in, right?
Then not to mention trying to leave.
I think I traveled here recently to Paris. I don't think I talked to my kids but once or twice. But it's the life that I'm like, I deserve this now.
Yes.
I want to be able to do all of those things that I definitely know that I sacrificed in the choice to have kids.
And we're talking about like time sacrifices as well. It's physical sacrifices.
Yep.
Stretch marks.
Yep. Mental. Girl.
Yeah. Like, what?
Yeah.
What this trying, and we have to kind of sit in that. I know back in the day we were not encouraged to go to talk to a counselor.
And then tempering even how we want to verbalize and how we want to communicate. Like we have to be so conscientious of everybody else's feelings and how they're going to take this and perceive it, that I know for me sometimes that could be a struggle, because the Aries and the fire in me just want to spit it out. I just want to say what I want to say, however it's feeling inside of me, and then we can come back and process it. But we don't always get to do that, especially with our kids, because we've got all these young emotions that we're also still trying to cultivate. We're still trying to help grow and everything. But there's some moments that you just want to grab them like a rag doll.
Look, we keeping it raw and real. That older baby, I was not prepared, to do that by myself. I had some days where I was frustrated. I had some days where I was in the wind, and no reason I should have been in the wind, because she like, we'll talk about it as she get older. Mom, I woke up and looked around and you wasn't around. She sleep. Let me try to get a little time for myself. It wasn't right. I had to own up to a lot of what, or if I would just shut down, get home, make sure she fed, make sure she entertained, go in my room and shut the door.
Just shut the door.
Just shut the door.
Wow.
And I just think about that in retrospect. Like, I'm so grateful for her grace, because she really could have wrote me off and been justified. I would have had to sit in that, but we did the work when it was all said and done. But that just goes to show that wasn't something that I was anticipating, looking forward to, excited about, passionate about. It was being dutiful. I'm going to show up in my least minimum capacity to get through this day and be there for her, in a dutiful way.
Right. Yeah. That's heavy. That's heavy, because you aren't the first. My hairdresser, she's the same way. And again, it's one of those things when you haven't been in that environment, and she says it too. She's like, Deanna, I'm not very touchy-feely with my kids. And when they do want to come up and hug, and her storyline is the same thing. My mother was not that way. So what is great to see with you and your daughter is exactly what you just said. Your daughter is not taking that same level of what could be definitely conceived as, or perceived as rejection. And she turns around and continues with that pattern. So a lot of people most of the time always want to think about generational curses as money, right? Things like that. But really a lot of it is spiritual bondage.
Yes.
It's mental breaks. It's environment. It's so much more than just breaking generational curses from a financial standpoint. For me, it was, I said, my daughter has got to break this curse that we cannot have any more teenage mothers, because I came from 4 generations of it. My great-grandmother was a teenage mom. My grandmother was a teenage mom. My mom was a teenage mom, and I was a teenage mom. And I'm like, okay, I got a daughter now. I was praying more so over that. Like, Lord, please, if you don't break now one generational curse, break that one right there, that we're not bringing any more children into this world, especially through a young woman that is still a teenager.
Most definitely. Just being completely raw and transparent. My daughter is a lesbian, right? And I ain't gonna even hold you. I was like, you know, because all my friends are grandparents now. That's kind of difficult to do.
My daughter's the same way.
Do you feel me? So I was like, hey, I'm not mad at it. I'm gonna slide behind mine. I love you. That's not, you know, necessarily something that I was expecting, but I completely wholeheartedly, like, because I'm around for you no matter what. I tell my kids this may not be accepted, but I told my kids, baby, you can be Jeffrey Dahmer around here. Mama gonna be up there, put money on your books and visiting you. I'm gonna be disappointed that you took all the people out. But I'm gonna be there.
And you eat people. You eat people. Come on now. Black folks don't do that.
I couldn't be like around here, girl. But I'm gonna ride for my kids. But that was a perk of that situation. I didn't have to worry about the procreation aspect of it. You know.
And when you say you and your daughter have done the work, have y'all had that? Because that's one of the other things that I push when it comes to mothers and daughter, is having those real, authentic conversations where I'm not talking to you as your daughter and you're not talking to me as my mother. We're just talking as two women, and the floor is open for me to be able to ask those real, raw and authentic questions. Mama, why? Mama, did you? That type of thing. Have y'all had that?
Yes, we were actually forced to have that conversation. Okay. Around 8th grade, I got a call.
Wow.
I was at work, and they were like, hey, we're admitting your daughter. What you mean admit? What do you mean admit? You need to come to the emergency room. And I guess she had talked to a counselor and said something she wasn't supposed to say. Hint, hint, don't ever say you want to hurt yourself or other people. And they admitted her. I couldn't do anything as a mother. Like, I had no rights at that moment. Hey, let me get my daughter. No, she's going into this facility for 2 weeks. And I was forced to face it at that time, because how cold I was and withdrawn and distant. She was doing everything to get my attention. Straight A honor roll. Just being like a stellar daughter, and she was doing things to appease me, and she ended up talking to me about that. Like, I was doing everything trying to, you know, get her attention. She was so independent, but not because she wanted to be.
It was her way of trying to prove something to you.
She had no choice. She had no choice. This 9-year-old polar opposite, and I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, like I be acting like a thirsty person. Hey, baby, you good? Yeah. She pays me no mind. But that older baby, it's kind of like a catch-22. She's independent. She's a self-thinker. She's a self-starter. But I can't help but to think, if I would have been in the mind frame and wanting to be a parent, how, because, you know, they say that adolescent, that window, it shapes them a lot. So I can't help but to think, like, wow, if I would have really showed up, how would her personality be different? How would she, you know?
Well, I will say this is one thing that I stand on. God gives us the children we're supposed to have at certain points in our life.
I agree.
Like your daughter, her personality, the grace that she gave you, the fact that you didn't get a whole lot of trouble from her. All she was just trying to do was almost not be a burden to you. Like exactly what you said, she could feel.
Yes.
And so many other kids would have taken it a completely different way. Yes. And the acting out would have been on a completely different way.
Yes.
So God gave you the daughter that you needed in order for you to learn and to recognize and to change so that you'd be better for the 9-year-old.
Most definitely.
But now the 9-year-old is like, Mama, I'm good. I'm good. And now you over here trying to feel needed. Wait a minute now, what's going on?
Hey, baby, let's go. I'm good. Like, but you're absolutely right. As far as just to your point, you saying giving us the kid that we need at the time, because she did lean into this being the best version of herself that she can be, and then she did. I remember when she stopped finally telling me I was the greatest mom in the world, when she really had an honest discussion with me, and I was hurt and I was angry, because when you're faced with the truth, it hurts. It hurts because I was hiding behind the veil for so long. Oh Lord, I hope she don't see.
Them rose-colored glasses.
What? When she finally,
because you had, the problem was you had attributed your worth as a mother by those checking of the boxes. I'm paying the bills.
Right.
You got a roof over your head.
She eating.
You eating. You got clothes on your back.
Yep.
So you were validating yourself just by checking those boxes.
Most
when
definitely.
her validation for you was completely different.
Most definitely.
It's just, Mom, I just want you to see me.
I just want to
hug you. I just want to hug you. Like, that don't cost nothing.
Yes.
I just want to hug you. Yeah.
She did finally get me to become a hugger too. Like, now I rush to hug her, but baby, it took some time. It wasn't easy.
Wow. Well, guys, this was a lot for us unpacking just this first half of the show. So, you know what we have to do? We got to pay these bills. We want to give a special shout out to one of our sponsors, the Biz Lounge, which is where we are taping the Let's Be Raw podcast. So let's take a quick break. We're going to top back off Miss Taquana's drink over here because we got a little bit more to get into before we close out tonight's episode. All right, we'll be right back. The Biz Lounge is redefining the concept of workspaces by incorporating state-of-the-art technology with ergonomic designs in a space to foster creativity and productivity.
It's not just a workspace. This is a dynamic ecosystem designed for growth, inspiration, and connection.
We'll see you at the Biz Lounge. Welcome back, guys, to Let's Be Raw. Today's episode is Motherhood, the Untold Truth, when choosing you would have been easier than choosing your kids. And if you are just now tuning in, you definitely need to hit the rewind, the restart button, because when we kicked this off, we did not hold back. Taquana, she literally said a lot of things that I've been thinking, I've experienced, and I'm sure a lot of you know something about as well, right? So, you know, motherhood at the end of the day is not always what we want as women.
I be going on side quests.
Yeah.
It was a young girl at Funplex when I took my daughter there to play, and these little boys was walking back and forth, flirting with her.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, the way I pulled up on her, look, let them be.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do with your life? Focus on that.
Yeah.
Because, baby, they'll sit you down.
Yes, they will.
With one of these kids.
And keep going and keep
you
moving.
will still be at Funplex. Stop playing. Like, you know, just to let them know, because that's why I feel like this is so important. In case someone was struggling with it or trying to, you know, adhere to the demands of society or their spouse about wanting to have a kid. Like, hey, rethink it.
Yep. And be selfish.
Be selfish.
Like, I'm like, man, if I could turn back the clock.
Yeah.
Like, I would lean so much into that, being selfish and thinking about myself. Because I think the other thing is we don't even really know who we are and what we want to do.
Talk about
even
it.
In our 20s. I'm just hit 50 and I'm still trying to check some things off the box. Girl, you said you like this. Well, I liked it 2 years ago. I don't like it no more. So I want to do something else.
Well, and then
right?
To what you said, back to your story, 9 to 16, then 16 to like where was the time to really figure out?
There wasn't. Because from 9, like you said, to 16. And it's crazy because I remember even when I found out I was pregnant, as much as I was in a moment of, I don't want to have this baby. I wasn't planning on having him. I tried multiple times to terminate the pregnancy. And when I finally came to the acceptance of it, what's crazy was it wasn't the acceptance of, okay, I want to be a mama. It was like, all right, well, I've been doing it since I was 9, so this is no big deal.
Right.
So I leaned into it just from, it's obvious this termination of the pregnancy isn't going to happen against my request and what I wanted with my life. So now I'm forced into this situation. So now I'm just going to accept it and be like, well, you know what? It ain't like I got to learn a whole lot about it. That's how I felt at that time. Because even as a 16-year-old mindset, I felt like I'd had motherhood down because I'd been doing it since I was 9.
They say 10,000 hours or something.
Yeah, I'm good. Right? But going back to what I said earlier on camera, where God gives you the children that you need at that time. Like DJ was so independent. Like he was, put him on the floor. He would play by himself for hours at a time, give him a little toy. I could literally focus on schooling or working or just, he did not require a lot of my attention. Jordan came along 9 years later. I'm at a different point. I'm like, okay, maybe this will give me the opportunity to enjoy pregnancy, enjoy motherhood as a whole. Jordan, I couldn't get out his sight. Jordan would be in his little swing thing. And if he couldn't turn his head enough to see where his mama was, Jordan was screaming at the top of his lungs.
Yes.
But he was also the child at that time that I had more patience.
Right.
He was also the child at that time that it was like, okay, I think, okay, maybe I do want to be a mother.
Yeah.
Maybe I can. And things were more stable. His dad and I were married, right?
Yeah.
Naya came along and it was like, I'm a pro at this. But there was still lots of moments where I would sit down sometimes and I would do the movie reel. You ever do the movie reel where you just say, like you said, you like, okay, if I could just redo this and I cut certain scenes out, right?
Maybe.
If I cut certain scenes out and then I only focus on this, wonder what the road would have led to.
Most definitely.
Because I can see myself up in a courtroom, baby. I can see myself traveling all over, entertainers, you know what I'm saying, doing PR control. Yes. Like, I can still visually see that.
Yes. I know, like, what you were saying about the difference with your kids. I don't know if DJ, if he ever gave you, like, the dog lean looking at you with Jordan, like,
yeah,
you letting this rock?
Yeah.
Maybe
but
that.
But the other problem was because DJ and Jordan, so I think maybe your gap. How
13.
Okay, so DJ and Jordan are 9. DJ and Naya are 13 years. But the difference between DJ and Jordan is DJ also, he went the opposite way of your daughter, where he naturally gravitated towards trouble and things that I never exposed him to. Like we were never living, off the system. We weren't in bad, environments. He was never around the life that he seemed to crave. And he craved it. Like, he wanted to be the bad boy. He wanted to be pop. He just wanted to be in the wrong crowd. So the stuff that DJ sent me through, unfortunately, became collateral damage for Jordan and Naya. Because then everything, it was like, y'all better not send me through the same hell your brother did. Right? So I couldn't even allow them to just even make some of their own mistakes, because all I kept saying was, don't send me through what your brother sent me through. Don't put me through that. I don't ever want to get another phone call from one of my kids talking about you got to collect calls.
Right. So they're kind of bearing this cross that wasn't theirs to bear.
It wasn't theirs to bear. Yeah. But then that goes back to when I say, this is why I don't know if I ever wanted kids. I don't know if I wanted to have to deal with all of this right here and manage everybody else's feelings. Now, let me go on camera. I love my children to death. They are here. They are the life. I'm like you, honey. I go 10 toes down for my babies. Okay. So that's not it. But I think the real conversation is just being able to be okay with being able to verbalize that, but at the same time being okay with living in my truth. And my truth is, I want a legacy, and part of my legacy is my children.
Exactly.
Like, I can work 90 hours a week, I can build multi-million-dollar businesses, but at the same time, that can't be just all of my legacy.
Right. And when we're doing the movie reel, we don't think the worst possible outcome.
No, of course not.
It's given luxury, it's given life.
Right.
And I think about it too. We keeping it raw.
That's right.
As soon as I graduated from high school, my mom was like, "Baby, you got to shape. You know how to dance." I went straight to the strip club.
I know that's right.
I went to the strip club.
I know that's right.
And the guy that was there was like, "Hey, you can be my money girl, and you can do drinks. You're not old enough to do alcohol, but you can sell soda, you can sell ice, and you can let the girls tip in X, Y, Z, and the third." So I was right on the cusp that I could have been out here getting pimped. I don't know.
Yep.
Because really, I found out around that time that I was pregnant. So that took me out of there too. And I went in a whole different direction. So I think on the movie reel, like, hey, how better my life would have been, but I could have been out here like Shorty.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. So
you could have been thin as a popsicle. Out here like, you trying to figure out what she on.
We on that sugar and stuff. It could have been real. So I don't know. I just feel like we're always who we are in every situation. So I just want to feel like I would have been this ambitious woman who would have been out here killing it, but maybe my kids saved me.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So I think about that as well.
Okay, so the unspoken conflict, acknowledging when a child-free life might have been easier. Have you ever said that to your kids? Like, have you ever in anger or anything like that said, my life would have been different if I didn't have y'all?
No, but I do feel like with my older baby, I showed it in action. My frustration. I remember, and this really was a traumatic situation for my daughter at the time. I didn't realize I was frustrated, and I didn't know how to process doing everything alone, because that's the whole thing. The burden falls on the mother. So she's coming home. I'm talking to the teacher. Hey, she doing good? Oh yeah, she doing great. And she come home with an F. Baby, I jumped out the marker and I was, what is that? Yeah. She I was going like, no more wire hangers on that paper. And I think that's part of the reason why she started going so hard with the A's. When I thought about it, baby, you had a whole mental break on that baby.
This is nothing. Yeah, we can recover from this.
That was lesson 1, section 5. She probably was dozing. It wasn't that serious, but it just goes to show, like, you know, how she must have felt. I remember having a conversation with her, and she said, Mom, I want to run away from home. Our parents told us hit the door.
Yeah, hit the door.
So I told her,
want me to help you pack?
Do you want let me get your bag?
Yeah, want me to help you pack?
And so I echoed that to your point when we were talking about earlier, do things our parents do. I echoed that, and to this day, my daughter talked about how bad it hurt her. How bad.
Because you were just willing to let her walk out the door.
I didn't think you cared. I said, baby, where were you gonna go?
Right.
Where were you gonna go? I knew you were. If you did decide to make that move, you was gonna get to the end of the sidewalk, about face to come back on in this house. I didn't mean it like I didn't care, but she literally took it like she don't care if I leave or go.
But if you think about that trauma bond, that trauma right there, you experienced it. And it's funny, why is it that we are so quick, our generation, we're so quick to laugh off a lot of the stuff that our parents did and said to us. Like, we almost want to consider it a badge of honor. Like, because what are we quick to say? Oh, you kids could not handle if you had to grow up the way I did.
Maybe.
But some of the ways that we grew up, child abuse.
You know, you say you got to laugh from crying. I think we all be laughing from crying. It's no way.
And
no way.
And just not having the mental breakdown that I remember even with my daughter, like when she was going through junior high time frame, and she would come home and she would just get so passionate about something that happened at school. And I'm over there looking at, I'm like trying to do damage control. Well, did you say this and did you do that and all this? Right? She's just trying to live in the moment. And I always say, you are such a drama queen. Like, girl, where did you get that from? Because I wasn't given that grace.
Exactly.
I didn't get to come home and tell my mama about, I remember the one time I came home and told my mother that some girls were bullying me. This is when I had to realize I needed to pick whether I want to be black or white. And I chose black, so my ass wouldn't get kicked all the time, okay? That's how it started, right? I remember coming home and telling my mom, and I was so devastated because I think even when I look back on it, I feel that I was more wanting her to help me to understand what I had done or said that made these little girls not like me, because I felt like I was trying to do everything to make them like me. And my mama went a whole different way. Even being a white woman, and I think a big part, because she was like, this is my way of protecting you. You better toughen up, and if they say something to you or they pop off, you better be ready to fight. Now I'm all of 5'2" now as a grown-ass woman. So I was only 4'2" maybe at that time, right? 3 feet 8, 60-something pounds. And my mother is telling me, you just better learn how to buck up.
Yes.
So then I don't realize it. Now I got my own daughter, and she's coming, and she had to tell me, she was like, Mama, you don't understand. I'm going through something mentally right now. This isn't, I don't, and I'm like, what? Huh?
Yes.
And then I even had to check myself, because again, society-wise, we automatically think that the moment women start expressing their emotions, what does that become? A sign of weakness. We're supposed to hold it all in.
Never let them see you sweat. Never let them see you cry. Tighten up.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
My daughter has had to teach me how to learn how to lean into even my own vulnerability, because I didn't have that grace. It was, no, you can't sit over here and cry, girl. We got things to do. Like,
yeah, they could have that up, whoop the brakes off of us. And we gotta not cry.
You can't, no emotion, no nothing. You over there hiccuping, you doing all kinds of stuff, right? You won't blink because you scared some tears gonna drop.
Yeah.
And my daughter over here having a whole damn meltdown.
Right.
And I'm like,
right.
Yeah. So even she had to teach me that grace, like you said, to say, even when it comes to showing up, being authentic and vulnerable with my husband. Because I'm like, no, I ain't about to let you see me cry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what's going on. No. Now I might go upstairs and scream and holler, or go get in my car and tears roll, but I ain't about to let you see it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, you need to.
Yeah.
People that, especially in your life, need to know that if there's certain things affecting you, or you're going through something, or something they said, they need to be able to live in whatever those emotions come out of.
I agree. I can literally count on one hand how many times in 11 years that my husband saw me cry. One time I was in, I was in the restroom, like, he said, let me help you. I said, get away from this dog. Like,
leave me alone.
Let me get myself together. But he would, and I was so grateful for that. But most definitely we just passed that on. I remember calling my mom, which is why I end up kind of being that mom in the beginning for my older baby, because I was just like, Mom, I don't know what to do with my life. I know I want to do stuff. I done had this kid. I'm at this job that I don't feel like it's fulfilling me. I don't know what to do. I just feel lost. She said, okay, I'll talk to you later.
That was it.
That was it. And their ability to get amnesia, I'm not going to go down there.
Yeah. But I want to ask this, because I think it leans into this conversation. Have you ever had a conversation with your mother to just ask her straight up, Mama, did you even want kids?
She's always very vague. You know how some of the people that will take whatever to the grave? I very much believe I've tried to get to know her. I've tried to pull stories and experiences and because my younger siblings, they are very jaded. They have no grace. Like how I'm happy I didn't get that from. They have no grace. They have no mercy. They are,
Mama was just this horrible mother type situation. Yeah.
And even I was like, my mom was 19, 18 years old with me, 4 years later, twins. She and then my daddy out here at his big old age trying to run the street. Like she was surviving. She was literally, and I remember her trying to go to school for a little bit, and we were in class making noises, and she apologized, and she was trying. It just didn't work out. It didn't work out.
So y'all having it. So you've tried, and you just feel she won't do it.
She won't give anything. I've tried. Like this to how that, and then I just, meet her where she is.
Yeah. But then you change the narrative to make sure it's not like that with your kids.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Like my daughter, she'll say, Mom, when I call Dad, he kind of makes stuff about him. I'm going through this, but let me tell you the one time I survived. She's like, when I talk to you, I feel like you listen to me and you go straight into problem solving mode. And I do ask her, do you want to vent, or do you want a solution? Because she know our baby, I go into solution mode quick.
Yeah.
I do try to put forth more effort, because I just didn't want to be one of those parents, even with the feelings that I had and trying to fight against, wonder why, hey, I'm in this old folks home, my kids not coming, because they don't like
and that's real. My sister, that's her business, and she say it all the time. She was like, I be trying to tell these people, she said, sis, they will drop their mother or their father off, make sure the bills are paid, and they will not come back and see them
ever again.
And a lot of the times what she hears is, my mama was not a good mother to me, my father was not, and you adults at this point still holding on to that.
Most definitely.
Yeah. I don't think my mother did a lot of stuff the right way, but what I can and I have come to, I was able to have that real conversation with her, and having that changed my perspective. It changed my outlook on her, and it allowed me to give her a lot of grace. And a lot of grace now, where I'm just like, I don't want to spend the rest of my mother years or my years or whatever keep rehashing the past, and there's nothing. Let's just enjoy each other now.
Most
like you
definitely.
said, meet her where she is right now.
Most
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Let me see. Finding peace and purpose. How to heal, embracing your reality, and then moving forward.
Most definitely. They talk about you have lemons, you make lemonade. Put a little sugar in it.
Yeah.
So you reflect back like, hey, we made it through.
Mm-hmm.
We made it through. I made some mistakes because they don't have a manual on how to raise kids.
No.
They don't have a manual.
It's the hardest job out there. It is the hardest job out there.
It's nonstop. Have you ever just worked all day? You come home, you finally laying down and getting some rest, and your kid wake up.
Unforgiving.
2:00 in the morning, they sick, they throwing up, now you just gotta figure it out, right? So most definitely you get to a point where you accept it and try to make the best possible environment for said kid and take ownership. All of that selective amnesia, gaslighting the kids.
Yeah.
No.
And it's gonna show up. That's the other thing. I'm like, even if you try 18 and under and you keep trying to speak a certain way or act a certain way or do certain things, at some point atonement is gonna come.
Come on now.
At some point you're gonna have to be sitting across, and that conversation that you kept trying to avoid is gonna come up.
Most definitely.
And the biggest thing I encourage, especially mothers, is have those real conversations with your kids. Like, I think once they become young adults, if you've raised them the right way and they understand right and wrong, and they also understand that there's not a perfect human being out here, opening up and actually sharing your story. This is why I am who I am. This is why I've become who I've become. The biggest part I feel is it's not always about you just being heard. It's about you actually giving your children the additional tools and resources that they're going to need, because as they grow, and if they decide to have kids as well, baby, that DNA is strong.
Most definitely.
Even when you think you might have been able to escape something that happened generationally before, you might escape it, but it could easily show up in your children or your grandchildren if you don't tell them their history.
They doomed to repeat it.
They doomed to repeat it.
Facts. Big facts.
They are doomed to repeat it. Yes. Talk to us about what are, after having this conversation here, your 3 takeaways. If you're talking to the audience, what do you want to leave them with about this narrative, this conversation, and just, life in general?
It's your life. At the end of the day, when you in your house dealing with what you're dealing with, nobody's opinion about your life, what you chose to do, kids you chose to have or not have, that you have to sit with that. None of the people that have their opinions are going to come and change that baby's diapers or pay that daycare bill or any of that. It's going to be stuck with you. That guy to say he loves you so much, he can opt out anytime. So I would say, to your point, be selfish. And if that's not something that you see for yourself, it's okay. It's okay for that not to be your reality. Or down the line, because if we're talking biblically, didn't Abraham's wife Sarah have...
Say that again.
Sarah was what? A century.
100 and some years old.
What? Yeah. So you got time. You got time to figure out what you want to do with yourself. So most definitely that's a takeaway. And then to have the honest conversation with your kids, because no matter how good you pretend, they're not stupid. They know. They figure it out eventually. You can only pretend for so long. And in psychology, they call it masking. That will wear at your mind, playing that role instead of owning up to the role. Hey, baby, mommy trying. This don't come naturally to me, but help me work through it. And I'll try to be there the best way I can until it becomes natural, because it does become natural. I can honestly say now.
That's what I was going to ask. That's going to be one of my last questions. No, go ahead. Yeah.
I can honestly say now, like, that's my twin. I be calling her. She be talking me off the cliff.
Off the cliff. Yeah.
Mama, block them.
Yeah.
That's how you. That's how you need to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's my little Virgo baby. She,
Yeah.
So most definitely.
So it's come full circle.
Yeah, it comes full circle.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, as always, when I say that the ladies that I have on the couch, the fact that you were willing to be real, raw, and authentic, I appreciate it. And I always know that, we only have an hour, so it's a 30,000 foot level. But what I always hope is that you, as the audience, you can take the nuggets that we've been discussing and do the work. Look inside yourself, especially if you're young right now, or even if you're in your 40s and people are trying to tell you why you don't have kids right now. Don't lean into that. Like, literally do the work and decide on, because I think the other side of being selfish is don't be selfish enough to bring a child into this world when you absolutely did not want that child to be here.
Talk about it.
Because that's selfish.
Talk about it.
That's selfish, right?
Yeah, that's very selfish.
All right, guys, we are going to be closing it out here. But before we leave, I want to make sure we give one more shout out to our sponsor, which is Knock Knock. A Knock Knock is a digital business card on steroids. So it is for all of you entrepreneurs, you business owners, your creatives. We got an e-commerce side to it as well. Go to knockknockcard.com, download your digital business card today. And next week, let me tell you what's on the agenda for next week. So next week's is going to be Girl Get Up, Finding Strength When the World Shuts Down and So Do You. That's with Miss Diana Gonzalez. So as usual, we want you to subscribe, like, share, comment, and we'll be back at you next week on the next Let's Be Raw podcast. Bye-bye.
Have you ever wondered how to keep up with the pace of our rapidly evolving world? How to seize the opportunities that are often fleeting in today's fast-paced lifestyle? Introducing Knock Knock, the digital solution designed to help you connect in even the most frenzied environments. Whether you find yourself in the midst of a bustling conference, navigating the chaos of an airport, or immersed in the vibrant city nightlife, Knock Knock empowers you to make connections seamlessly. With just a simple tap, you can integrate contacts instantly, ensuring no opportunity slips through your fingers. But Knock Knock isn't just about networking. It's about bridging the gap between your various brands. With Knock Knock, switching between your brands becomes as effortless as a single tap. No more navigating through endless web links or scanning QR codes. Knock Knock is the app that brings networking and e-commerce into the palm of your hand, making connections, making sales, and managing your brands effortless and instantaneous. Welcome to the revolution of technology and networking, brought to you by the Knight & Group Technologies division. With Knock Knock, the power to connect is just a tap away.